Okay, deep beneath the waves, there's a technological arms race heating up that is totally reshaping global power. And, right at the center of it is a company you've probably never even heard of, Kraken Robotics. So, let's dive in. For about a century, the playbook for controlling the oceans was pretty simple. It was all about one machine, the submarine. They were stealthy, incredibly powerful, and basically the undisputed kings of the deep.
But that's all changing. In fact, that era is over. There's a brand new arms race happening right now, and it's being fueled by things like AI and autonomy. It is completely rewriting the rules of what happens under the sea.
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at this new ocean battlefield. Then, we're going to meet Kraken Robotics and really dig into their tech stack, which is kind of unbeatable. We'll also see how a huge partnership with a company called Anduril is turbocharging their growth. And then, the big question, is the stock a buyer? So let's start there. What exactly has changed? Why is the ocean suddenly this completely new kind of battlefield?
Oh, you got to follow the money. We are talking about a market for unmanned underwater vehicles, or UUVs, that's set to more than double in less than a decade. We're talking over $8 billion. This isn't some tiny niche market anymore. It is a major strategic priority for nations around the world.
So what's lighting the fire under this thing? Honestly, it's mostly geopolitical. You've got NATO allies scrambling to modernize, tensions are obviously getting higher in the Indo-Pacific, and the Arctic is opening up. These aren't just little trends, these are fundamental shifts in global defense.
Which brings us right to part 2. Let's meet Kraken Robotics. They are this quiet Canadian company that's become an absolutely essential powerhouse in this new undersea world. So what is it they actually do? Well, Kraken builds the guts, the critical components for this new generation of autonomous systems. You can think of them as providing the hearts, the eyes, and even the brains for these underwater drones. Everything from super advanced sensors and robotics to the high-endurance batteries that keep them going.
And here's where they have a huge advantage. While a lot of their competitors just focus on one piece of the puzzle, like maybe just the batteries or just the sonar, Kraken provides the entire integrated system. They are a one-stop shop, and in this market, that gives them a really powerful patent-protected moat that is hard to get around. Okay, so what does this winning tech stack actually look like? How does this all come together to give them an edge? Let's break it down. Their product lineup is just comprehensive. You've got the SeaPower batteries for endurance, which is crucial. Then there's their synthetic aperture sonar, which is basically like Google Maps for the seafloor, but with like 10 times the detail. It's insane. They have the catfish system for huge surveys and a whole bunch of other advanced robotic systems. Each part is great on its own, but when you put them all together, they create this powerful ecosystem.
But out of all of that, their absolute crown jewel has to be the SeaPower battery. I mean, think about it. Every single UEV needs a power source, and Kraken's is basically the gold standard. And the business case is just beautiful. These things have gross margins over 60%. That's an incredibly profitable core product. And this leads us right into part 4. And this is where the story gets really, really compelling. We're talking about the Anduril turbocharger, a partnership that honestly changes the entire game.
But first, let's look at the proof. In early 2023, Kraken showed off its KAT-fish system to the Royal Australian Navy. The very next quarter, the Navy bought it. And then this year, Kraken did a massive survey for Australia's Department of Defense, and get this, with zero downtime. This isn't a test run, this is real-world validation from a major Western military power.
Okay, so now, enter Anduril. To really get why this partnership is such a massive deal, you have to understand the difference between the old way of doing defense and the new way. On one side, you have the slow, bureaucratic giants. And on the other, you have Anduril. They're this AI-driven, super fast-moving disruptor that's already valued at over $30 billion.
And here is the absolute crucial link. Kraken is the essential supplier for Anduril's entire subsea fleet. They provide the hearts and eyes, especially those incredibly high-margin batteries. See, Anduril doesn't make these parts. They just integrate the best stuff out there. So, as Anduril wins these huge government contracts, Kraken's revenue scales right up along with them. They are literally tied to the hip of one of the fastest-growing defense companies on the planet.
So, let's bring this all home in part 5 and really look at the investment case. Does the story hold up when you look at the financials?
Well, the financial picture is just incredibly strong. Revenue in the first half of this year was up 105%. Yeah, it more than doubled. Gross margins are sitting at a super healthy 56%.
And here's the kicker. Unlike a lot of these high-growth tech companies, Kraken is already profitable. They're guiding to as much as $34 million in adjusted EBITDA for 2025.
And when you look at its valuation, the story gets even more interesting. It's trading at about 16 times its forward EBITDA, which is actually less than the average for those big, mature defense contractors. But its revenue is growing at over 30%, while those giants are stuck in the low single digits. You see the disconnect? It's a high-growth company trading at a value price.
Now, of course, there are always risks. Their revenue is heavily concentrated in the defense sector, for sure. There's competition from some big legacy players, and yeah, their success is partially tied to Anduril's. But with a customer base that's growing and a clear technological lead, these risks seem pretty manageable, especially when you look at the surging global demand.
So when you step back, it really does look like a perfect storm. You've got this fundamental shift in warfare happening. You have geopolitical demand that is absolutely surging. You have a company with critical integrated technology. You have real contracts that are validating everything they do. And it's all backed by impressive, profitable growth. Which, leaves us with this one last question. When you see a private company like Anduril with a valuation soaring past $30 billion, does its key public supplier, Kraken Robotics, represent one of those rare chances to invest in the future of defense, but at a massive discount? The ocean is calling, and it really seems like Kraken is ready to answer.